What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rideshare Hub. My name is Greg Wave. What I'm going to talk to you guys today is about a recent edition Lyft change and why I am royally ticked. So Lyft has done a lot of really screwy stuff lately. And I've talked about a lot of this in past videos, but they just did something that this was appalling for me. I mean, this for me, I saw this and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. If every driver in the world isn't looking at them right now thinking you're stealing my money, they need to be. So for those of you that are wondering what I'm talking about, if you don't know already, Lyft no longer shows what the passenger pays. Now, for some of you, you might not think that's a big issue, but it's been a really hot topic over the last 2 years, wondering if really Uber and Lyft have been taking more money from us than we think. I've had so many times where I felt like there was missing tips, missing this, missing that. And obviously, if you email them in, it's not like they're going to be like, oh, wow, yeah, we had $20 of your tips. Here you go, valued driver. No, not going to say that. They're not ever going to say that. They're money hungry. They're always going to steal your money, and they're always going to be okay with it. So it all started, it was just recently, a few months ago, this company released this study that they did a test on all these different drivers' earnings. I was one of them. And so we submitted our earnings from a select amount of time, and they looked at the data and they got all of it gathered up, and they came back with these statistics that Uber is actually taking 30% of what we make and Lyft is taking 35% of what we make. This is a huge deal because both companies report that they only take 25%. They always have. I think Lyft at one point said they were only taking 20, but I feel like that was when I first started driving. So eons ago. But they're both saying they take 25% from us, and then they're taking 30 and 35. So then what happens is both companies come out with this statement saying this study is baloney, and they're basically, this is complete garbage. How are you going to make this claims about our company? You don't have the data to really know, and There wasn't enough, data, not enough drivers submitted to the study. They said, okay, well, give us access to, some of that data. We don't need to see anything we shouldn't see. Just give us the earnings. Give us the earnings of, all your drivers. We'll do the study. We'd love to. They said, no, we're not releasing that. So they deny the test or the survey. God, why can I not think of that word? They deny the thing, whatever it was that was done that gathered all our data, and said it was baloney, but then refused to give up any data. And then it's a month later, Lyft turns off the ability for us to see how much the passenger's paying. All of these things adding up, literally makes Lyft look like the shadiest company on the planet. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Now, I don't know what I really think about this. I've always thought with big companies like this, you should almost give them the benefit of the doubt, because it's a lot tougher for them to get loopholes around things because they're constantly being monitored by, the government and everybody else. But at the same time, it's the data's coming back pretty clear that they're taking more of our money. I think one of the most frustrating things about this is personally, I feel like there's nothing we can really do about it. I've emailed them in multiple times in the past about tips I felt that were missing, ride fares that weren't right, and every time it's just this BS texted excuse. That's the other thing I despise about them, is you can't talk to anyone over the phone. At least Uber now has that. So it's just all really, really shady what they're doing. So we could go on strike, but the honest truth is drivers have already done that. There was a strike just recently, and to be honest, guys, the thing I've always felt with Uber and Lyft is these companies are dominating the industry. There's no threat to them at all. Taxi cabs are not a threat to them. No one's a threat to them. And that's the thing. They're both, I don't know if you guys know this, but neither company has turned a profit. Uber, I think after Q2 was negative 700 million. And Lyft, I don't think is quite as bad as they are because they take 35%. But they're also, they haven't turned a profit. So it's like, how are these two companies that have never turned a profit still making it? Because they're that dominant in the industry they're in. So what it makes me think is that they're not going anywhere. You know, and I don't know, like, I actually skipped the last strike that was going on in my city. Like, I had heard about it, how supposedly, you know, all the drivers weren't giving rides that day. And I was like, you know, I'm not going to do that, because what I honestly felt is like, they're not going to do anything. And like, they don't care if we all quit. You know why? Because there's going to be like 100 people a day in every given area that are going to be signing up. There's always new drivers signing up. There's always new little promotions to get them excited about. Like, there's always something they're doing to get new people in. And so, like, if you, even if you're a veteran driver, I mean, for me, like, I've got, you know, I want to say like 4,000 to 5,000 lifetime trips. I've averaged a 4.96 for like the last 3 years. On paper, I look like a pretty valued driver, but I know, like, they don't care. They don't really care about me at all. You know, like, I'm no fool for assuming that they don't. So yeah, I just think like what our options are really limited to is just kind of nothing. So now with Uber hasn't done anything like that. Like, they didn't you know, make any major changes like that. But I think in most cases, you know, people would agree that Uber seems sketchier based on just the company and like the CEOs they've run through. But I've gotten to the point now where I actually think Uber and Lyft are both like equally as shady. So some scenarios I'm going to leave you guys with, and then I'll let you go to be aware of. Just as there are some changes like this, I think the important thing is to really stay on top of them with your earnings, and to really make sure they're paying you out everything you deserve. In a lot of cases, I don't think, you know, they are going to help you out, but it's always worth looking into. So a scenario I had recently that I was really frustrated about, and I emailed in multiple times and just nothing. I picked up this lady from an airport, her and a friend, and I waited at the airport for like an additional 10 minutes for their third friend who was waiting for her baggage. So I pick him up. It's like a 30-minute ride north from the airport, and then they wanted to stop at Target. So I said, sure, no problem. So we stopped at Target. They come back. They bought a bunch of wine. And then we're going to the hotel, and the lady was like so pleased with my service, I guess, but really more that I waited for her friend and, you know, did the pleasure of stopping at Target and not leaving them, like I could have easily. But so she tells me, she's like, hey, I really want to take care of you. How does $10 sound on the app? And I was like, that sounds great. So she's like, okay, I'm actually going to fill it out in front of you. She's like, I like doing that for the drivers. She's like, because one driver told me about how so many people say they're going to tip and they don't, which is true. More often than not, if people tell me they're going to tip, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're not. But in this case, she's doing it right in front of me. I watched her click all the buttons, click submit or whatever, accept or whatever it is to like process it. And the tip never showed up. And I was like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. I like saw that happen. So I emailed into Uber and I told them, you know, what happened. I said the whole story. I was like, hey, I like watched this lady do it. And they emailed me back and said, oh, okay, we're sorry to hear that, Gregory. If we had to guess what happened, since we really can't tell. I was like, what? They're like, we would guess that what happened is her account was overdrawn, and so she wasn't able to process a $10 tip. I was like, okay. So she just paid for like a 40-minute Uber ride north to her hotel, which was like a really ritzy, nice place. And she stops at Target, comes back with like, I counted at least 5 bottles of wine. And you're telling me that the $10 tip overdrew her account for her entire stay she still has in Phoenix. It's like, I don't buy this. This was like a businesswoman. It just didn't make any sense. And they said, well, we don't know anything else. And I was like, well, I'm really frustrated. I want my money. I was like, that's my money. Like, you guys have, like, that's my earnings. And they said, they were like, we don't have anything of yours. And I was like, oh my God. So I just realized that I was powerless, you know, and there's nothing I can do. And that's kind of the point I was bringing up earlier, is that in most of these cases, they're going to do what they're going to do. But I like to hope that in a lot of cases, their data does show that maybe it is our money. And so I think it is always good to follow up with these scenarios. I've noticed with tips, they're pretty much always going to say that, but I've had a lot of rides where the earnings seemed funky, and I'll call in Uber or email in Lyft and they'll recorrect something. A lot of times it's only a few bucks, but if that's happening for like, you know, 10 rides a week, that's an extra 30 bucks a week. And 30 bucks a week, I mean, that's a nice lunch for me. So I want that money bad. I think I'm going to let you guys go on that note. It's the most recent news we have about Lyft, and it's pretty scummy. I hate it, but I hope you guys feel informed from this video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'll have more content coming for you guys soon. Crush it out there, and yeah, just let me know if you guys have any questions about anything or any topics you want me to address. Alrighty, guys, have a good day.